How did you manage that sort of, it sounds like, letdown of, wow, this is going to be very different than what I was expecting?
You hear the stories about you work such long hours, you don't have a life, it's so hard. And I remember thinking, like, that's all BS. I'm a hard worker. I have a good, solid work ethic. Those people are complaining and making more out of it than it is. And I'm not afraid of the hard work. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to give it my all. But as I stayed there longer and longer, I was like, wow, the values here seem to be a bit upside down.
There are some people that are called to that and able to endure and absorb differently.
I mean, it's definitely very hard. I definitely had a low point. I was definitely down and out for quite some time. So I don't mean to make it sound like it was easy by any means. I felt lost after a short period of time. I felt like I really wanted to dig into something.
Welcome to The Mothers-in-Law, a podcast exploring the demanding world of being a mother and a lawyer. Join my mom, Carrie Foliani, as she shares real-life stories and practical tips to help you find joy and balance in your life. Let's embark on this journey of community and support together. This show is sponsored by General Counsel West, a law firm that supports companies transforming healthcare comprised of mothers and fathers practicing law.
Thank you so much for joining the Mothers-in-Law podcast. It is another exciting day. We have Linda Klein, also known as Love and Linda, joining us today. She's a longtime friend and has a very special story to share about her journey from the law into incredible things. So thank you so much for joining us today. I was very much looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're going to start off strong because Linda and I got to know each other in law school before there were any children involved or even spouses involved. And I remember sitting next to you in employment law because you had Bit of Honey, which was my favorite candy. So I figured I needed to get to know this girl. But our early beginnings were not that smooth and easy. So I'd love you to share like what you thought of me at the outset.
Well, yes, that's true. I was in law school, and in comes this beautiful, intelligent girl who baked like no one was watching, and she would show up to our study groups with freshly baked brownies and cakes, and the gentlemen loved her. The boys loved her, and obviously I was not the most secure person back then. I'm not really that secure now, but you know, here comes this girl who is just taking names, and but it's a wonderful lesson because so we called her the pom pom girl, and our group of friends were supposed to be the pink ladies, and now that I'm saying this out loud, I realize how ridiculous it sounds.
So awesome.
It's embarrassing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I love it. But you gave the pom pom girl a chance, and what a ride it's been. I mean, we've been friends for so long and gone through so many ups and downs. I cannot imagine like who I would be without you on this planet. And I really want to start because you were like the ultimate badass in law school. I mean, you'd come to it. I mean, I think, is it true, like you would come to it on scholarships and, you know, really top of the class, crushed it. You secured an amazing clerkship and then went on to one of the top-rated law firms in the most prestigious departments. So how did that feel after all that hard work to have all that, you know, pay off essentially?
Well, gosh, part of me is like, who are you talking about? Who is this person? But yes, I thank you. And it was an incredible experience. I worked very hard. I was very proud of the fact that it was something that I did myself. And I was really excited to honestly be financially independent. That was huge. And I was also really excited about helping other people and using the law in that way. And I loved the mental gymnastics of law school. I loved learning new things. I loved, problem solving, and it was so much fun. I met my best friend who was sitting across from me in law school. So I loved it. I was very excited to get out into the legal world.
And I know your clerkship is a kind of a rainbow experience. I feel like that was such a special part, and almost you made that come to fruition with your hard work to be able to work with Judge Cooper. What was that like for you?
That was incredible. I feel so incredibly grateful that I had that opportunity. it was an opportunity to talk to these great legal minds and be able to reach the decision that was just each and every time. And that felt so good. And it was all different types of law. It wasn't just one. So I learned about maritime law and copyright law and patent law and criminal law and so forth. So it was just that first year out of law school was incredible.
It's so amazing. And then you kind of knew you were headed to Paul Hastings at that point. So what was that, the contrast, or how different was it once you arrived, like that first day at Paul Hastings? What was that like for you?
It was definitely a lot different than my summer associateship that we did. As many of your listeners probably know, a lot of times you'll spend a summer at a law firm before your final year of law school to kind of feel it out, and then before you accept a full-time position. So that summer at the law firm was incredible. Day one, I remember we had an orientation, and part of the orientation was, this is how you need to talk to your spouse or partner, because you're most likely not going to see them at all this year. And this is the divorce rate of first-year associates.
Wow.
And they had a concierge because you were expected to be there for past dinner time. So you had a concierge that would order you dinner. So it was a lot different than the summer prior.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you manage that sort of, it sounds like, letdown of, wow, this is going to be very different than what I was expecting? Like, did you voice that opinion, or you just charged through?
I definitely, in the beginning, I definitely charged through. I had heard you hear the stories about you work such long hours, you don't have a life, it's so hard. And I remember thinking, like, that's all BS. I'm a hard worker. I have a good, solid work ethic. Those people are complaining and making more out of it than it is. And I'm not afraid of the hard work. So I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to give it my all. But as I stayed there longer and longer, I was like, wow, this is the values here seem to be a bit upside down. And it really was kind of as bad as I had heard, without sounding judgmental. But yeah.
Well, it's not for everybody. I mean,
No.
I think that's what both of us kind of learned early on, is probably for different reasons. Like the law firm life, there are some people that are called to that and able to endure and absorb differently. But, it was alarming to me, because you, like, literally are one of the best lawyers that I know, that after 11 months, you were really aware that value disconnect forced you to make a really important decision. And what was that decision like?
Well, gosh, yes. So after about 11 months, it was an agonizing decision to leave the law. As you said, I spent so much time, money, and blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak, at not only in law, but also at that law firm. And I did have colleagues I respected. I had friends I had made. But I remember getting an assignment towards the end of that 11 months from one of the really big name partners. And he told me it was 4 p.m. and he said, it's due tomorrow morning. And I had no idea how I was going to get that done. I was so stressed out and nervous. And I remember driving home, because I thought, okay, I'll work at home. It'll be more quiet. And I got hit by a car.
Oh, my God.
A block from my house. And I remember I felt this overwhelming sense of relief.
Oh.
Because I had this excuse that would be okay to say, you know what, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to make this deadline tomorrow. And that was kind of and then I was like, okay, that's an eye-opener.
Yeah. And it's important, because I think everyone kind of had that moment. Like, and I was even sharing, like, I shared this thought with someone else, that I had hoped on the way to work that I would get hit by a truck just to give myself a break. Because otherwise, there wasn't an excuse, and we were expected to run nonstop.
Yeah, I remember craving fresh air, because I would literally leave my apartment in the morning from my garage to the parking garage downtown, stay there till after dinner time, 9, 10 o'clock, then come back, go to sleep. And then, so I remember there was days where I had not breathed fresh air.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and how, I think the challenge when you're in that environment, is to figure out, can I change this environment that you worked so hard to be in and be part of, but really to make that brave decision of, this is not for me? And what encouraged you or gave you the support you needed to really step away, to know it was going to be okay?
Gosh, that's a really good question. Because I will say, I know it might sound like I'm blaming others, so to speak, or sounding like a victim, but I really felt like I had let them down. I felt like I was not enough. I was not good enough. If I was stronger, smarter, harder working, thicker skin, I would be able to take it. Everyone around me was so proud of me. My parents were so proud of me. I got this big law job. I wanted to earn the respect of those partners. I mean, there were some amazing legal minds there. They did amazing work. If you love that environment, that was in a fantastic place to be. So I most of the time I felt like I was failing miserably. So I had a huge knock to my self-esteem. But I think it was just that car accident. I remember my grandfather died, and around that exact same time, my supervisor partner said, "We're going to load you up with work so that you don't think about it." And I remember writing my eulogy, going back and forth, doing my legal research and writing the eulogy at the same time. And I was just at that point, what am I doing? Like, life is so short. So
that is a telling moment, of how you would transition away from that, because it had to be something big, and I knew it was something big, even in my memory. But I love what you did after that. I mean, I think especially for someone that worked their ass off for so long, kind of taking a hiatus, that you were exploring what might fulfill you. So will you share a little bit what you decided to do after stepping away from the law firm?
Well, I definitely feel like I had a midlife crisis come early. I'm probably still going through one now, but this was a while back now. So I wanted to just be free. And I grew up in a family that owned liquor stores and restaurants, and I wanted to learn how to be a bartender and be able to make any drink I possibly could for my friends. Maybe even travel on a cruise ship and be a bartender on a cruise ship. I went to bartending school, much to my parents' dismay. And I know Carrie jokes with me because it was bartending school, and I was going to classes like 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, and my friends from the law firm were so envious. But I remember making flashcards, studying them late at night, and I ended up getting like the top score in the bartending class plus all the extra credit. Like, I was still so stressed out studying for this bartending exam, but it was really fun. And I went to massage school. I wanted to figure out how to give a good massage. It was definitely in the opposite direction of my whole life, what I had been gearing towards.
I loved it. I mean, I feel like it was such a restorative period for you. I think as your friend watching that, it was, and there's certainly a certain level of envy of like, that looks amazing, right? And we're all still stuck in the law firm, like trying to figure our lives out. But what do you think you learned from that experience, that period of time? Even like what you would tell Love and Linda, the day before she decided to quit the law firm, and what the next period would look like. What would you want her to know?
Oh, gosh, I think I would want her to know that your life is not over. There will be other opportunities, because sometimes it feels like, what am I going to do now? It's overwhelming. I have this one skill set. What am I going to do now with the rest of my life? But just hang in there and have faith and trust that you're going to find something that will be meaningful to you.
And so what did you do in that interim period to sort of find a path and figure out, okay, here I am with a great law degree and a great resume if you want to be a lawyer, and now you've added bartender and masseuse credentials. Like, you don't see that very often. It's a good combo. What did you do to try to navigate that next step?
Yeah, it's definitely very hard. I definitely had a low point. I was definitely down and out for quite some time. So I don't mean to make it sound like it was easy by any means. I felt lost. I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate. I like working. I like being busy. It was fun to do those things, but after a short period of time, I felt like I really wanted to dig into something. I had all this energy and passion, but I couldn't quite figure out what that was. So it sounds kind of simple, but I remember buying every single magazine on the shelf at the old magazine. Like, this is when they had magazine racks. I don't think they even have those anymore.
So let's tell the listeners too. There used to be
prints.
racks of printed materials that you could get on the street corners and buy a magazine, just in case you had never seen that. Go ahead.
Exactly. So I picked all kinds of magazines, business magazines, pleasure magazines, and I gave myself a job, which was to read through all of them and to circle or tear out the articles that resonated with me. Anything that I was like super excited to read, I would just make a note, rip it out. So I remember there was 2 things that I was most excited about reading. One was about bartending and how to make drinks. And the other one was anything that was nonprofit. So anything that was helping people, that would help people. I was so inspired by people who had spent their lives wanting to help people. And then around that same time, my mom passed away from breast cancer, and that definitely catapulted me into being like, the time is now. Mm-hmm. It was scary, but I need to make a change. I don't want my life to go by without doing something that feels meaningful to me. So, yeah.
And she would be so proud, because I think the next steps you took, which were very scary looking back, but were bold. And, I remember getting a phone call from you because I was working at City of Hope at the time. And you were like, I think I'm interested in pursuing and looking into different nonprofit careers. And I was super excited for you. I didn't know for sure. I knew that there was a lot of passion for cancer, given your mom's experience and how precious that was for you and your family. But honestly, like, all I did was hook you up with a tour, right? And then you walked out of there and said, I got a job. And I was like, wow, like, I was just like wanting you to see the place, but just being who you are and that connection that you created and passion for doing good. Really, I look back at what you've done in your relationship with Matt and all the good you've done. I'd love you to share, like, what those beginning, like, finding that your footing in that space was like for you coming from the legal world.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, when my mom died, our family was really rocked by it. And I'm sure your listeners can relate. Anybody who's lost somebody, it really turns your life upside down. And the brief version of that part was that my mom was treated at excellent medical centers, the top hospitals in the world, but we didn't really receive that kind of compassionate, humanistic care that my friend Carrie would tell me about that they did at City of Hope. And so I wanted to do something meaningful in my life if I could help other families who were going through what my family had gone through and, quite frankly, still go through today, even years later. So I had no healthcare background. I had this law degree, but I didn't have any real training in any sort of health field. So I was definitely flying blind. But and Carrie, you gave me this advice, like, just, you got to reach out to people and identify your resources and just start, right, think of all the people. I remember we made a list, like Make-A-Wish, somebody at Make-A-Wish, and of course you at City of Hope. And I thought, I'm just going to go and I just want to learn. I just want to learn as much as I can and ask people advice on what I can do to break into this field. And I was very fortunate to be at the right place at the right time. And I will say that my law degree helped immensely. Yes. It definitely opened doors. So I don't regret for a second getting my law degree. It's helped me in so many ways, not only opening doors, but also in how I think, how I organize things, how I approach teams.
How you work so hard. I think that's it. You've never been able to. And that's one of the things that was fascinating to watch at City of Hope. And, especially as you, infused children, into your experience. Because I know, when you were working there and working so hard to create the wellness center there, that all of a sudden these 2 little ones arrived. And kind of how did that shake up your... you love with a very big heart. That was a huge experience, but you also loved City of Hope so much. So what was that like for you?
Yes, so I did get pregnant with I had twins, and I remember the whole time I was pregnant thinking, oh, I've got my full-time nanny lined up. This won't impact my life at all. I will wake up in the morning and go to work like I'm doing now and come home, and there they'll be, and then I will spend time with them. And that could not have been, I mean, nobody was as surprised as I was at how much I wanted to be home with those girls and how much I love them and how different your life becomes, and all your plans just fly out the window. And that was hard because it was my dream job. I've never had a job like that, and I'm forever grateful to Carrie for bringing me into that world. It changed my life in every which way. So it was a real mourning. I went to many months of therapy before I was able to pull the plug on City of Hope. So it was a very hard time. But I will say that I have no regrets about leaving. I miss it every day. I miss my work at City of Hope. I miss being part of a workforce like that. I miss the hard work. I miss my colleagues. I miss doing good in the world, the programs I helped create. But I don't at all regret the time that I've gained with the girls in the process. So,
and I think the huge transition point for me in this is that the good in the world that you're doing in raising great human beings. And I know there's a tension out there in the world between working moms and stay-at-home moms. But it's like the importance of that parenting role. It is, especially a person like you, that is all or nothing. Because, I mean, I do remember the struggle when you were at City of Hope, and it was technically like a 9-to-5 job, like that most people would have done between 7 to 3, 8 to 4, 9. But you were still, you don't have that ability. And even when children arrived, it was hard. So it really made sense as an outsider, even though I knew it was hard for you to walk away from your dream job, to be the dream mom that you really wanted to be. I mean, but is there ever a point when, I mean, and I guess the other question is for everybody is like how you've kept yourself immersed in what you're passionate about professionally while you're still able to have a greater presence with your children. Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so yes, definitely you're spot on in that I wish I was better at doing less. I wish that if I could have found that right mix of working, dialing it back a little bit. I just was unable to find that balance, and I still wish I could. That's probably a regret. I wish I could have figured out a way to find that balance at the time. But yes, I mean, as much as I love being a mom, there did come a time where I felt a need to use my head again in that way. And again, I looked to what I felt passionate about and ways in which I could help people. If I'm going to be away from my kids, I want to pick something that is meaningful and has an impact on people. And so I ended up going through a training. I again, back to my family and my roots. When my mom died, our family was lost. My sisters and my brother and my dad were lost. We had all kinds of issues following that. So I wanted to, again, help people. So I got trained in leading bereavement support groups on a volunteer basis, and I co-lead bereavement support groups at a nonprofit in California called Our House.
And how has that been for you? I mean, I feel like that would be so hard to do, but I see the light in your eyes when you talk about it. You know, it makes you beam a bit because of probably the good works. But God, I mean, meeting people in that moment. How do you navigate that?
Gosh, yes, I hate to sound cliche or corny, but it almost does feel like a calling. My husband, my friends, they say, why would you want to spend time, doing that? And, my husband's bookshelf is stacked with comic books and sci-fis, and mine are like death and dying and, comforting a loved one when they die. And I want to, instead of running away from that situation, I always find I want to run into it, and I want to be there for that person and just sit with them or help them any way that I can. And I recognize that I didn't have the tools. I still am learning, but I want to get the tools and be able to be there for people in that way. And it's incredibly meaningful it also feels like I'm honoring my mom in the process as well.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think she would be blown away by it, because I know it took a lot for you to get even to a place where you could enter into that bereavement experience. So the hard work of, managing through your own emotions and feelings and that lost feeling for good. Again, I think everything comes back to good, even like from the law firm to City of Hope to this, and I know, I'd love, if you're open to like sharing, you've written a book that also has had a profound impact, which was like, to me, revolutionary, that you were able to bring all those people together to talk about something that's so important. Do you mind sharing more about what that was like and participating in that project?
Sure. No, thanks for asking. So I was really loving, sounds a bit awkward, but really loving doing the bereavement work. And my former boss and mentor, Matt, had this amazing idea for a book targeted towards healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, and so forth, who face death and dying on a daily basis, but are kind of expected to be stoic and not grieve, not only the losses they experience in the professional setting, but in their personal lives. So here we have oncologists at City of Hope who are dealing with dying patients that they've become connected to. And then at home, they may be a caregiver for their dying mother, or their child might be sick. And so nobody talks about it. There's such a stigma associated with talking about it. So Matt wanted to put together a book of top healthcare professionals who would go really deep and share unflinching, raw stories about loss in their own lives, hopefully to serve as almost a role model or inspiration for others to know that they're not alone, and it's okay to know that they fall apart behind the scenes. So I was very lucky to be brought on to this project, and I co-edited this book of stories by healthcare professionals in their own personal lives about losses they experienced, and it was published by Oxford Press, and I hope it's been having a really wonderful impact.
It's so profound, and it's such an important, even conversations to have about something that doesn't get talked about enough, and all of that, our loss and our grieving. And I just am so impressed that you have found a way, even in the course of stepping away from that, a 9 to 5 or whatever, we only do 7 to 7 jobs, right? But to have an impact and continue to do good. What is you have 3 girls.
Yeah.
They are amazing. What is their perspective, or what do you think, or do they share about how they see you? Do they know that you were a lawyer? I guess, do they have a sense of who their mom is from that side of things?
Yes, that's a good question. I will just say one quick thing backing up, just because I hope it would be of help to your listeners, which is, and now I just forgot it. The having to do with the book and loss, because the book itself is not only about loss of life, but about loss of other things in your life, and leaving the law firm was a loss. Leaving City of Hope was a real loss. And becoming a mom, you grieve. You lose a lot of parts of yourself that you don't have anymore once you bring on this family. And I just want to say it's okay to grieve that loss. You're not a bad person for having these beautiful children in your life. You're like, how could I feel bad about leaving my job when I get to be with my girls? But it's okay to feel both. I felt both all the time. And it took me a long time to be okay with that. So
that is such an important message. I hope everyone caught that, because a lot of times we beat ourselves up for feeling that way, and that tension, especially because you've experienced so much accomplishment and joy in your own professional life, that it's really something that transitions into a very different experience when you do bring a family on board or have to leave a job in order to care for them. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course, thank you.
So amazing.
But yeah, my kids, sometimes I feel like I did this for nothing, because I'm home with them all day, and then I go out for 20 minutes, and they're like, where are you? Where are you going? And you're never home with us anymore. If I go have dinner with a friend, and I'm like, I gave up my career for you. Like, I'm home more than most moms. But so sometimes, I definitely still get that. But at the end of the day, they do. I don't know how much they know about my professional life. You've been really great about reminding them. My husband will remind them sometimes. Thank you. It makes me feel good. I want to be a positive role model for them so badly. So
you definitely are. Even just knowing that you can have a dream and it changes.
Yeah,
it's a role model for all of us. Quite honestly, I think that's one of the most like I was so passionate, even though I know this is not in your comfort zone to have a conversation like this, so that your story is heard, because I think a lot of women might find themselves in a very similar situation, and to know that there is hope beyond what you originally thought was like your dream job that didn't end up being so. And I think that, you know, for your girls, for me, for my girl, I mean, I think, and for all my kids, it's like, you know, you are on a path and you kind of don't know exactly where it's going to land. So I think that's been such a beautiful part of your story and your experience. And I will keep reminding your girls what a badass you are. I hope they're listening right now. Your mom's a badass.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you, you know, when they're talking about their own path, you know, especially we're like about to onboard to the teenage years.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Do you ever think that any of your lawyering skills might inject themselves to help you manage? Or do you ever think, like, either do you think that, you know, lawyering has helped your mothering, or mothering kind of helped you as a profession? Like, is there ever like those kinds of moments of like, this is interesting?
I mean, lawyering has definitely taught me first how to manage 4,000 different logistics. I feel like I sometimes call myself vice president of operations, domestic operations, because as you know, you're juggling 4 billion different balls in the air just logistically for your kids, and that has nothing to do with you or your husband. So that actually was very helpful. I also love that one of the things that the law was so great at teaching me is to always hear both sides and to come at everything from two sides. Also to anticipate potential problems or roadblocks that are going to come down the pike, and to kind of proactively get ready for them, to deal with them proactively before they turn into big problems, which doesn't work so well. But
it's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
No, advanced planning. It's advanced planning. I think it's totally is helpful. Like, we kind of know something bad's going to happen. I mean, as much as we don't like to think about our personalities like that, I'm kind of a worst case scenario planner. Like, I know how this is going to unwind, and it's just a matter of how long and how to prevent it. You know, I think that's a good skill.
Yeah, exactly. But it is so different because you have such little control in so many ways when you're a parent. You don't know which way the wind's going to blow, and you kind of have to wing it sometimes. And that's definitely different than practicing law, at least for me, when you had so much more control over a situation. But
what would you say? So a lot of the reason that this podcast is in existence is really to help women, lawyers, but all women that are parents or thinking about becoming parents, navigate just the road ahead, especially through motherhood. But when you look back and you see the Linda sitting in, the law firm office, not having the greatest day, and knowing how the story ends, or is going to continue, I should say, what would you tell her? What would you encourage her?
Oh gosh, I would definitely, I would say be your own best friend. I wish that I was my own best friend. I have to remind myself, and I remind my girls about that, because it's so easy. And I do this too. I beat up on myself. I was failing. I wasn't doing right. If I was better, if I was enough, then I wouldn't be facing all of these things now. And so I wish that I could have told that girl to be your own best friend. What would you tell your best friend if she was sitting here with you? And stop hating on yourself, and just, it's very cliche again, but life is so precious. The moments are so precious, and try to capture the joy as much as you can.
Yeah.
I
mean, I'm a big fan of capturing the joy.
I know. I love that. I borrowed that from Carrie.
It's such a good one.
Yeah.
But I guess when I also think of you, and I hope certain things just for you and watching your journey, but would you say that you have found fulfillment, and where do you think it draws itself the strongest?
That's a really good question. I definitely feel fulfilled, and it took me a long time to get there. And but I definitely when I think about the things that I'm most proud of, it's one that the time that I've got to spend with the girls and trying my best to raise these future leaders, although my husband and I joke that we've already started their therapy fund because they're definitely going to need it more than a college education. But I would be so regretful if I missed out on these moments in their lives. But then I also am I'm most proud of the programs that I created and helped create, and the time I've spent making a difference in other people's lives. So even though it was a huge pay cut, I think it was like my salary was like 1/8.
I know, it was amazing.
Of what I was making
at
the law firm.
But you still worked like you were at the law firm. I couldn't believe it.
But it was so worth it. I had
know.
to cut back in many ways in my life, but it was to have be able to infuse my day-to-day with that type of meaning was
You were so joyful. I mean, that was such a special. That was so fun when we got to see each other at work.
Oh,
that
was the best.
Amazing.
That was the best.
Well, I do want to close because the title of this show is Mothers-in-Law. So just for fun, I know everyone has like a tidbit or trick about their mother-in-law, and I know you have a special one. But if you don't mind sharing, just one thing you've learned, from your mother-in-law, or about how to navigate that relationship.
Sure. I wish I had some like very juicy, terrible mother-in-law, monster-in-law story, but I will say that my mother-in-law is really an inspiration. I mean, this is a woman who's now in her early 80s. For her 70th birthday, she went skydiving.
Oh my gosh.
She swims every morning. She lost her husband of 30 plus years. A year later, Match.com. Now she's in a hot and heavy relationship with somebody in their 80s, having the best time. And she's had a lot of losses in her life. She's not as mobile. She can't do some of the things she used to do. But she just, again, shifts her perspective and what can I do? What can I focus on? What joy can I bring into my life? Even though it looks completely different than it did 10 years ago, 5 years ago. But she forges forward and makes the most of every moment because it's such a gift, the moments we get. Such a gift. So
I love that. That's very inspirational for all of us. And for all those single attorneys out there, maybe you should call her and get some advice because it's not an easy dynamic. But thank you so much for being here today. This was like the most fun. And maybe we'll have you back and we'll delve in more. But we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to The Mothers-in-Law with Carrie Foliani. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found the insights and stories shared helpful as you navigate your own journey. I also hope that you enjoyed listening to my mother. Not that I always do. For more resources, to connect with the community, and to continue exploring how to align your personal and professional life, visit www.themothersinlaw.com. We appreciate you.